Hey, Freedom Prayer Team. Happy Election Day. Woohoo. Can't wait for all of the things tonight and all the ads to be over tomorrow. I say no more. We are celebrating an incredible weekend together. Thank you guys for leaning in. It was so good just to be together and to hear some of our language, to be with our people, and to be encouraged and trained a little bit more deeply. I know that was a lot, but we'll continue to walk it out. And then, what up, Amanda Beggs? That incredible sermon. It was just music to my ears. I hope you were encouraged, and I was able to sort of be present through some of that, walking it out with that prayer time. I mean, I wasn't in the prayer time, but just sort of watching all of that happen. And it was an amazing and a marking moment for her and for that woman. Super grateful to the Lord for what he did there. Ladies, thank you for supporting the well. That was amazing too. We just have a lot to unpack and be grateful for. Okay, the reason today that I wanted to, my tip today actually came from one of our members. She said, can you help us understand the debrief a little better? And I was really excited for this because I do believe that we are far enough in this process now that we've had enough reps. I want to make sure that we're not building habits that are not correct. You know, you get muscle memory. It's like the golf swing, right? You don't want to practice the swing in the wrong way, or that's the muscle memory that you will have. So there are some things that I've heard over the last month that I just want to bring to the table, and I want to remind us. So in the email that this came in, I have a list of things that I want you to deal with in debrief. I don't mean to make it rigid. I just want to remind you of the things we need to be aware of in these prayer times. I will put one, or we'll have Deneen put them in the baskets so that you can have them right there, but you can also, put them on your phone or something. Number one is the introduction. Make sure that people understand what's going on and what they're ready to expect. Also the things that you're going to be doing in that prayer time. This is a really good time to ask them about their experience of prayer. Hey, have you ever had a prayer time? Because lots of them are coming in expecting us to pray over them. That's what they know. So have you ever heard that phrase, hearing from God or hearing the voice of God? What does that mean to you? Have you experienced anything like that? Have you ever sensed God or heard from him or had an experience of God that's beyond like just knowing about him? So you can flesh that out first so you know what you're dealing with. I would suggest doing that. I'm going to do it in any prayer time that I have because I want to know where they are, so we're not just struggle bus. Okay. And then, of course, connection. You want to plumb this with each other to make sure that, hey, did we go far? Did we just plumb it enough? Did we expand and really ask them questions to draw out like a vision or a sense that God had? Or if there isn't, and sometimes you just have to go with the person feeling the peace of God. But most of the time, we want to get as deep into that connection as possible so you guys can talk about that. Like, how could we maybe have done that differently if there was a struggle? Checking your connection throughout the prayer time is also important. Does it grow? Does it change? Does it sever? And you have to reconnect them in the middle of kingdom business. So connection isn't a one-time deal, right? So we want to make sure to talk about that. Okay, big one. Repeat after me prayers. I know that this is not happening in every prayer time. I'm just going to put that on the table. There's versions of it happening, and then sometimes it's not happening at all. And I think this is a departure in terms of methodology. I will be very clear that this is an important part of freedom prayer. If you don't see this in the prayer times, you need to call it out and figure out how to do that differently. So this does not mean, hey, ask Jesus, could you ask Jesus what he would like to tell you? And then or what does he think about this? Or how does he feel about you? You don't let them come up with the language. You give them language, especially in kingdom business, when they don't know how to break a soul tie. They don't know the steps of forgiveness. If you make them fumble and try to figure out language and process that, It will likely lose connection. And it's stressful for people when they don't really know what to do. So give them the language. Sure, they can change it. You tell them that. If this doesn't resonate, don't say it, or shift it into a language that would really feel like it resonates with your spirit. That does not mean you just let them do it silently. Silently doesn't help, really, people. It doesn't help because part of getting it up and off of you is verbalizing it inside of community. So they're going to need to say stuff. It's just that if you help them say it without them figuring out, it's going to be very kind and helpful. It's going to help your prayer time and help them. Okay. I'm going to ask anyone who struggles with this to just have it be intentional, an intentional place, and ask the Lord to open your heart to understand it more. If you don't agree with it, if you don't like doing it, it's a piece of freedom prayer we need to do. So we need to figure it out. So we need to be accountable to that and to really walking that out together. Not trying to be rigid, just trying to follow this very great framework that has been tested for years and years as to what really helps people. So I'm trusting that, and I hope that you'll trust it too. Okay, the next one, asking Jesus. This is really key, or Father, or whoever. This is part of the corporate stronghold. I've said it multiple times. We got to deal with this first in our own hearts. We are not deciding where the prayer time goes. We don't lead it. Even when a person comes in and is like, they tell you what they're coming in for the prayer time for, and you log that in your mind and you decide the pathway that you're going to take. You do not jump in with when was the first time you felt that. Ask Jesus. He tells you where to go. Even if they've mentioned something, if he doesn't bring it to the table, we don't bring it to the table. Jesus will know what they're equipped to handle, what they're ready to do, if they've already done too much, what needs to get done first, the order of the thing, and their ability to handle multiple pieces of information and walk it out after. So we really have to get to the place where we actually trust that God is in control of this prayer time. It does release you from a lot, but more than that, it's just, this is what the process is. And when you're coming to the end of the prayer time, you don't decide that. So you should never be wrapping up a prayer time unless Jesus says so. So could you ask Jesus if there's anything else he wants to tell you or show you? Is there anything else we need to deal with today? If it doesn't come from that source, then you're making the decision that they've had enough. And that's not the process, okay? All right, in kingdom business, you want to make sure and ask, did we complete the business? Was there anything missing in the forgiveness process? Or we talked about that soul tie, did we cut it? Whatever the kingdom business is, did we leave anything out? Did we leave something on the table? Did we complete the process? Okay, and then the loot and scoot, these are two different things, and I think sometimes they get all together. Loot is that, did we take time to fill them back up with all the good things? This is the exchange that happens in every piece of kingdom business. So how is God meeting the needs that weren't met when you're walking through forgiveness? What does he want to restore when you're cutting something out like a soul tie or whatever? How does he want to experience and speak forgiveness over you when you're confessing sin? Okay, so all of those things are part of the loot. And this would be where you guys, if you've got prophetic words or something that came up as a team, fill. This is the beauty part. I love it. But scoot is the intentional piece that I think sometimes gets missed. These are the specifics of how am I going to walk this thing out once I leave here. Sarah gave us some really good advice, and it's found in your manual, that whole spiritual warfare thing about resisting the enemy and he will flee and all of that. Submit to God, resist the devil, he will flee. That whole process in our manual, look it up again, go over it, because the enemy's going to want to come and steal their freedom. And so we have to help them be shored up. Obviously, get in a small group or do rooted. If there's a one-on-one mentoring situation that feels like it might be good, that's when you would come to me. Don't promise that. But talk about that. Do you have anyone in your life that can walk some of this out with you? Renewing of the mind, speaking truth over to themselves every day. All the things, make sure you give them that blue thing that we have in all of the baskets that are like next steps. These are really important ways to walk out truth. That happened. There are lots of creative ways that you can do that as well. So be thinking through what are the helpful ways that people can leave that prayer time and walk in freedom, sustained freedom, not just for that moment. Okay, and then I would just, one last thing, I think, how is my patience in the process? Did I leave room for the person to listen, to be still, to hear? Did I leave time for Jesus to help them hear? To just take the time that he might want? Don't be in a rush to get kingdom business done. What you want to rush toward is the connection with God. That's the thing that will last and remain. So when you get in the debrief, I would literally like for you to go through these questions. And obviously, how did the chairs 2 and 3 do? But right now, we're focusing on what happened in the process of the framework. But also ask, like, how was the note passing? How was the intercession? Did you guys sense anything? And you want to get feedback, and we do not want to be afraid of feedback. We don't want to pick up offense in this place. This is a really important time in the development of our team. So please, and I want to hear from, I don't know if I said this, but I want to hear still, after every prayer time, would somebody reach out to me via text or email? You don't have to tell me the specifics of the personal things unless you're having a struggle as to how to deal with those. What I want to know is how the process went. I'm happy to listen, and I can listen. You can share those things with me. I will tell you if it's a person I don't want to hear specifics on, but generally I'm interested in the process more than anything else, and how our team chair 1s are growing, how our chair 2s and 3s are melding into the process. These are so important, guys. If we don't follow the process, this team is not going to be able to work well together. You just sit there as a chair 2 if someone's off doing something you don't recognize. And chair 3s don't really know how to take notes if you're doing something different than what we practice, what we've trained for. This is important. So I'm throwing it out there, reminding us, build the right muscle memory. Celebrate what God is doing, guys. This is an incredible season, and he has marked our team for this very, very special purpose. And I'm grateful. I'm so grateful to you guys and for leaning in so deeply. I'm excited for where we're going. We're doing great. People are getting free. People are experiencing God for the first time. Keep our eyes on that. These are details. We just have to do them, but keep your eyes on all the amazing things that God is doing. I love you. Talk to you soon.